My name is Varvara Guljajeva, and I'm from Computational Media and Arts, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology at Guangzhou. And the title of our paper is The Future of Art Museums in the Digital Age, using virtual reality for archiving purposes. Well, I think there is no question that archives are important and vital for heritage and preserving our culture. And maybe the beginning of the presentation title, in the digital age, sounds like a bit cliche, because we are in the digital age already for a long time. But surprisingly, when pandemic hit and all the museums had to close their physical doors, then there was silence for some time, and then institutions realized that they have to go digital and expand beyond the physical space. And they were kind of extremely busy, including also galleries and festivals, to digitalize the content, digitalize also the space and the artifacts and the physical works and also digital works. So when maybe it was the beginning of the web development, then the website was the thing, and then it was forgotten. Then with the pandemic, it was again the topic, and actually really interesting kind of programs emerged during these 2 years. And for instance, just to give you some examples, it's a recent program by M+, it's museum in Hong Kong, Watch and Chill, stream art to your home. So everything should be kind of consumable, like on distance and from homes. But of course, the question is like how engaging, how immersive it is, how exact are the exhibits, and how to get kind of as close or even better experience of museum or the show remotely. And yeah, there were a lot of launches of online conferences and talks, and of course there is also a participation is an issue. So are we only like consumers of digital content, or the audience could also participate in certain programs? So coming to the next second part of the title of our paper, the VR, then again, like if most of you who comes from media art, like VR is nothing new. We know works from early 90s, but now it's reached the consumers. So it's reached our shop windows and so on. So it's kind of a tabletop technology now, and the museums extensively start to use the VR technology, and it's reliable. So people are not afraid of it, and it's a perfect time to explore what kind of possibilities it can have also for the archives. So now probably kind of our everyday tools when we talk about research in media art. Research in media art, then we definitely know Ars Electronica Archive and ADA, which are great tools. But what about immersive installations, or even the shows, exhibitions? Like we don't have the experience there, so mostly it's a documentation via photo, video, and texts and hyperlinks. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get the idea of maybe iconic show which was up somewhere, or also installation or VR piece, why not? And another aspect also is kind of maybe rethinking a bit the archives is what about the wider audience? Can we? It's let's say the navigation and the knowledge there is very kind of specific. So if we want to open up the archives also for wider audience, then definitely like more immersive environments. We need to think more about the immersive environments. So Zay is also here. I don't know if you want to take over and say a couple of words.
Yes, okay. Yeah. Let me take in charge this part. So we raised up the question. So what if archived artworks can be experienced in VR, and would be unreasonability too costly to achieve? So can you turn to the next page?
What we also noticed during the pandemic is the appearance of VR tours, like virtual tours, where then the physical space was recreated in the virtual space, and the audience could have a feeling that without being physically there, they have been in the exhibition, on the show, and also the details like arrangements of the exhibits or certain kind of storyline. Like it actually gives also to the curators maybe the influence or the word, or also well, we talked recently about few presentations before about embodied archives. Like it's also maybe embodied experience in a way that you can be in the space, and this is kind of quite trendy to have these virtual tours.
Yeah, for this part, and we did a literature review about like existing exhibition. The left side, like the VR conducted exhibition, which happened in 2019 and 2018, which is really successful. The first is Mona Lisa Beyond Glass, a VR exhibition. The second one is a 3D modeling of an artist studio, and the audience can really get into the audience studio to experience when the artist is making the painting. So right side is VR as the artist toolkits for helping the artist to making their own artwork. And the top one is a VR Crime Sense by the Nicole Copper. And the bottom left side is a famous artwork, Real Violence. And I really go to that space to see the exhibition in the Whitney Museum, which is a really good artwork and by George Wolfson. And right side is the VR like Pokemon Go-like installation in the Liverpool Biennial and by Era Chin, which is a really good artist helper to help the VR artist creating artwork. Mm-hmm. So for this part, and there are a lot of like platform to help the museum and gallery to using the online archiving. So this is online archiving from the SOAR Modern Art Museum, Modern Contemporary Art Museum, which is one online open source. And the entire exhibition, which is really good, looks really good, and visual organization, navigation, orientation, but like for professional audience, for non-professional audience, which is really also friendly, and the people can take like the VR tour and have a really good experience with the physical space. But like there also have a limitations. So for example, like the current VR tours, such as this online tour, cannot offer the metadata tagging, so which is really hard for some general audience to searching for specific artist or specific artwork.
We tried to summarize the pros and cons of VR technology in the context of archives.
So for this part, and we start to consider about like if we definitely use VR as the archiving, so what is pros? And first, we are thinking about like a lot of museum or galleries start to using that. Whatever is good or not, this is really popular. And second one is the VR archiving can exact it to replace the exhibition setting up and the 10 when the artwork were exhibited in the physical space, which is really good, especially for the digital age. And even like we are in the age of metaverse right now, a lot of like digital artworks was really good for exhibiting the physical space, and how can we put that into VR space. And also time and locations doesn't matter. And even like not everyone has their own VR equipment, and the people can still using like a computer screen to visiting the online archiving in the VR platform in everywhere and every time. And also it's really good for installation art, and which is gives the audience more immersive view in the VR sense. And also like VR archiving can contain the really huge collections for the big museum, such as like MoMA or like Whitney or like Guggenheim. And we are easily can see on their website that they have really huge collections, like museum collections, but not every piece of the like really good artworks can show in the online archiving. So, and also like the next part is in the future, maybe like we are actually right now we are already have some like touch and haptic feedback, which is powered by really emerging technology. But right now, like the online archiving can also apply some like touch and haptic feedback, especially good for interactive art. And also like VR art can be viewed in the original format, and such as the artwork we are talking about in previous slide. And also VR can use in the digital archive, especially for some general audience beyond the exporter. And also like it has a really good potential in education and curatorial programs. So, and also even like VR has a lot of really good potential in the future use for archiving, but it's also have a lot of limitation and challenge. And for example, the expensive equipment. To be honest, like the equipment of the VR lens is not that expensive right now. But only for the young people, and even for the old generation, maybe they think like spend $200 buy a lens, VR lens, which is really expensive. So it also can raise another question as like the elderly people, it's really hard to use VR technology because when you use that, you need a lot of like starting setup, and which we need some like online tutorial like for the elderly people. And also to use VR to maintain archiving is a kind of a labor and cost intensive process, especially at the start. You spend a lot of money to doing that, and like you're also need to spend much money and time to retain the archive data, because you need to go to that like data to fix the data error every time, every day, and it's which spend a lot of money and time. And also the existed 3D tour applications such like Google Art and Culture or the Matterport, which is a really good platform. But to be honest, like some of the people cannot really, some author of the people cannot really get access to the source file. So which is really limitation, has a limitation for doing this kind of archiving purpose. Yes.
Okay, and now we are already in the conclusions. So VR archives are definitely not meant to replace the physical exhibitions or existing archives, but rather they are meant, or their role can be more in documenting the exhibitions and the immersive feelings which are aimed to be forwarded in the exhibitions, and also as archiving of the exhibitions setup and arrangements. And well, the VR technology already is in commercial hands, so to say. There are, for instance, Google Arts and Culture and Matterport, but one needs to be careful with these tools because they are proprietary softwares and platforms which are also limiting us in archiving what needs to be archived in a long run. So, for instance, the previous talked about emulation, and it's very good that they are creating their own emulation server rather than relying on some commercial one. But talking about VR tools is definitely maybe, as I told, it's not the replacement, but for the audience who couldn't be there or couldn't go, or you want to re-look exhibition from, I don't know, maybe 20 years from now, it might be possible. Yeah, and again, as we mentioned before, this allows VR archives might allow to expand the audience range. So it's not only the experts, but also the wider audience. And then, you know, it's more like not searching for information, but maybe just like exploring the information and the archive in a different way. And it's definitely very much suitable for VR works and also installations. Maybe we need to think it's not, let's say, if we talk about VR work, which is let's say code-based, not video-based, maybe it needs to be then, or an interactive, maybe then needs to be replaced by the videos and so on. So it's kind of a bigger discussion here, because yeah, it's kind of easier to preserve, definitely. Yes, and that's it, I think, from our side. If there are any questions, I think we were on time. Yeah.
We have a question through the chat.
Oh, okay.
I just can't see it.
Yeah, maybe I can.
Okay. Can you see it on the table?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, here it is. This is
Okay, yeah, can you comment on the interfaces API regarding archiving? I wonder if materials are then only there in terms of encapsulated, or can you export content from the environment also to keep? Yes, I mean, it's this is a thing with, for instance, with a Matterport. It doesn't allow you to export artifacts, so to say. It even doesn't allow you to get the 3D model of the space. So that's why we need to be very careful with this commercial solutions, because their kind of mission is more profit oriented rather than preservation oriented. So we also tried to do kind of one project with Matterport, whether to scan the physical space and then use this 3D environment for kind of outside of Matterport software, and it was it resulted, at least for us, impossible. So it's kind of quite closed environment, but nevertheless it's very much used by worldwide by many art institutions, because it's really easily allows you to kind of put documentation of the exhibition online. And I don't know what if we talk about Matterport, then this would be about this, but about other interfaces, well, it's more the question of development, right? So it's if we are talking about like going beyond visual ones, also the haptic ones and so on. So it's yeah, it becomes more complex, but not impossible if we can integrate, for instance, the suits and gloves and so on. But again, they are dependent on different interfaces and APIs, which makes archiving more complex. That's why I was also in the end referring that maybe interactive installations which could be archived through VR technology maybe need to be replaced by multi-channel videos instead. I mean, in the end, it's like how much technical development one wants to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.